Hi and welcome to the open source video blog for May 2021. My name is ANAVI. I'm a senior software engineer and an open source enthusiast. I'm involved in both open source software and hardware. I do this live stream just for fun. I hope we'll have a lot of interesting moments because May was a very busy month. Actually, I'm supposed to do this live stream once per month, and I'm kind of trying to do it at the beginning of the month, but because May was crazy busy and there were actually a lot of interesting things, I decided to do it at the last moment. So it's almost midnight here, and in 30 minutes it's gonna be June. So I decided to make this live stream in the last possible moment instead of skipping a whole month. So in the next 20-30 minutes, we'll cover topics from the open source world. I have selected a list of interesting news. It's a short list, but very interesting news. If you have any questions, please write in the chat or in a comment if you're watching this video later on. I hope it's gonna work out well. I'm still learning how to make live streams, so there is always this risk of an epic failure while streaming. So let's get it started. First of all, I would like to talk about IRC. IRC stands for Internet Relay Chat. It's a technology that was super popular when I was a teenager, which was obviously long ago, and back then, we were using IRC for communicating, having this type of conversation that nowadays teenagers have in social media like Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. So nowadays IRC is, I would rather say, a dying network, but I am using it on a regular basis every day. During the work days, so 5 days a week, I log in using the Hex chat. This is a screenshot actually of the chat client that I'm using, for IRC chat client that I'm using on Ubuntu. And I do it because a lot of the open source projects are still maintaining an IRC channel where I can have quick conversations with other open source developers if I have any kind of a problem or question. So it's still convenient, but it's a small community. I believe outside the open source world, there are still people using IRC, but of course the number of users is decreasing, and it's not a popular service. Nowadays we've got Slack, we've got Discord, and so many, Mattermost as an open source alternative of Slack. So many, obviously, in terms of technology, better choices. However, there are still people that like using IRC. There's always someone who has his IRC client configured exactly the way he wants, and because of this, he wants to use IRC. Of course, there are a lot of gateways for using, for joining IRC channels through different services, alternative services. So over the past month, something huge happened. Freenode, which I believe still is the largest IRC network. It was taken over by a tech entrepreneur, Andrew Lee, and this led to some of the Freenode IRC staff resigning, and they created an alternative which is called Libera.chat. It's a replacement of Freenode. It's a very long story. I don't even understand it in details, but basically what happened is that some IRC channels in Freenode were captured, hostilely captured, and some of the administrators took control over them. Of course, this is not okay for a free community, for an open source community. So a lot of people decided, this is something that regularly happens in the open source world. If you're not happy with something, just fork it. And here we have an alternative called Libera.chat. And actually, as of today, all the channels that I visit on a daily basis using IRC are existing in Libera.chat. So no longer using Freenode, and I've moved on to Libera. So if you are still using RC, give it a try. Now we are moving on to another hot topic from the open source world, and this topic is about Babel. Babel is Babel is a JavaScript engine which basically brings new features to all the JavaScript standards. And in 2018, they decided to make an experiment to fund the full-time development of this project. Babel is funded by donations only. So their business model is that it's a super cool JavaScript framework that a lot of individuals and organizations use. So these individuals and organizations are contributing money by donating money, so that the core team of Babel can work on the project and develop it over time. So in 2018, Babel decided to start funding the core team so that they can focus on Babel new features. And after initially maintaining salaries of $11,000 US per month of the lead developer, and $2,000 US per month for 3 of the other leading developers from the core team as part-time contracts. So after doing this for a while, Babel ran out of money. They described this in their blog post. It's a blog post with a lot of details. It's super interesting because it's a common problem for open source projects to have funding issues. Very often there is an awesome open source project that everybody uses, but it does not have enough money. And when there is not enough money, becomes a huge problem, because the developers maintaining and developing this project cannot afford to work on it, because we all have bills to pay. And things like this, what happened to Babel, are happening all the time in the open source world. Is there a solution for this? It's very hard. At the end of the day, it's about business models, and if you are spending more money than you are receiving, then you cannot maintain these high salaries. And $11,000 US in the part of the world where I live in is per month is an excellent salary. It's amazing salary. So for now, Babel decided to cut the expenses by paying temporary rate of $6,000 per month for 3 developers, and they are searching for new donations and new income resources. One of the things that they mentioned in this article is that the pandemic in 2020 affected them, and the donations were significantly reduced during this time. And this is the reason why their initial plan and business model didn't work out so well, because over the time the donations decreased. It's a personal opinion, my personal opinion, but an open source project should not rely only on donations. This is kind of a problem. If you rely only on donations, this is not sustainable over the time. Now, continuing with the next topic, speaking about funding open source projects, I would like to share with you something that I've learned from friends, other open source developers. This is an innovative platform called Stakes.social. The idea is to fund the most crucial open source software based on the Dev protocol. The Dev protocol lets GitHub users to tokenize their open source software projects with a few clicks, and other developers or other users in this system can invest in their open source projects. This way, eventually, over the time, the open source developers could have an alternative channel for funding their projects. The whole idea is based on the cryptocurrency hype. So maybe this could be one practical way to use cryptocurrencies for something useful, such as contributing to the open source communities and helping cool open source projects to have good income, sustainable income. Now, we're moving on to more hardware news, which impressed me recently. And there are a couple of projects that I've selected here. As I told you, I didn't have enough time, honestly, to prepare a lot of news this month. I'm just trying to highlight the most interesting news in my opinion. And if I'm missing something, if there are any news that you would like to see in the next episode, please write a comment below and or in the chat. I'm doing this open source video blog as a hobby. I know that almost no one is watching it, but eventually over time maybe more people will watch it, and I hope the content is kind of interesting. So now moving on to more hardware projects, the first thing that I would like to talk about is do-it-yourself USB microphone. It is using Raspberry Pi Pico. I'm awful with pronunciation. I'm not a native speaker, so and not sure if it's Pico or Pico. So hey, someone is watching. I've got a comment here. Thank you very much. It's great to see someone watching, and I love to see that people are actually interested in the open source video blog. So this USB microphone attracted my interest due to several reasons. So first of all, Raspberry Pi Pico, if you have missed the announcement, I'm sure you haven't, but it's a microcontroller. It's powered by a microcontroller by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, which is called RP2040. It's here right in the middle of this green development board. Green, of course, because it's a Raspberry Pi after all. And although the board itself is not open source hardware, this project is using Adafruit PDM MEMS microphone, which is Adafruit is sharing all schematics and design. So actually the microphone attached to the Raspberry Pi Pico in this particular project is open source hardware. And what is interesting here is that this is not the regular maker project. It's a project created by employees of ARM, so it's a very serious project. It's a really well done, although it looks very simple to achieve thanks to the great work that they have created. They've shared the exact steps. There is a GitHub repository, and I'm interested in using Raspberry Pi Pico in this project because eventually I can build something like this Blue Yeti microphone with for significantly less money. It's going to be something really low cost because the Raspberry Pi Pico is available at about $4 US. And the price of this model with the microphone is pretty much the same. Just a note that it is also possible, as far as I saw in the source code, in the documentation. I haven't found yet time to try out this, but it's something on my to-do list. So it's even possible to use this project and the source code with an analog microphone. So this is a good alternative. You can use a MEMS microphone or an analog microphone. Now, another open source hardware announcement. BeagleV is here, and actually, if you have watched my YouTube channel, I have a better version of BeagleV. It's an amazing board because this is the first affordable RISC-V development board capable of running Linux. Of course, this is not the first RISC-V board capable of running Linux, but this is the first one that does it at a reasonable price. And the better version is already available for certain developers. I did an introduction video, and actually I keep calling it BeagleV, but actually it's BeagleV. It's a major problem that I'm pronunciation problem that I'm doing here. So it's RISC-V architecture of the CPU And the name of the board, as far as I know, actually should be pronounced as BeagleV. The estimated price is expected to be at 149 US dollars. It's open source hardware design based on RISC-V, which is an open source CPU architecture. It's developed by 3 companies: BeagleBoard Foundation. Actually, BeagleBoard is a foundation which is famous for the BeagleBone boards such as BeagleBone Black. Seed Studio, which is also known manufacturer and distributor in China, and Star5. Star5 is a relatively new company. Actually, I've heard for it the first time when I've heard about BeagleV. Star5 is manufacturing the CPU which we have on BeagleV. You can learn more at beagleboard.org/BeagleV. It's written like BeagleV. And sorry again for my bad pronunciation if I am saying BeagleV. If you would like to learn more about this gorgeous new board, have a look at my YouTube channel. I did an introduction video with a wrong pronunciation of the board. However, I'm going through some details featuring the unboxing. There is a huge fan on top of the board which I removed to take this photo, and a video with more details about all the peripherals BeagleV has. For the moment, BeagleV boots, there is a Fedora image which you can download on and flash on a micro SD card and boot it on the board. There is also support. Actually, it's under development. It's, as I said, this is just a beta unit. There are ongoing efforts for supporting BeagleV in BuildRoot and the Yocto project and Open Embedded, both of which are popular frameworks for building custom embedded Linux distributions. I'm contributor to both BuildRoot and Open Embedded. And although my personal preference is Open Embedded because I'm more regularly contributing to Open Embedded, BuildRoot is also a great choice. And I expect that soon we'll have stable support for this board. So as you can see in the title here, it says BeagleV Beta. Yeah, this is a beta program. The difference between the beta program and the project that we expect on the market is gonna be the CPU, because this is an earlier version of the CPU, and there will be a new hardware revision of the processor with which BeagleV is supposed to be shipped as soon as it is available on the market. Speaking about chips, we have to say there is a global chip shortage nowadays, which makes all hardware projects really difficult to deal with. Hopefully this will not affect BeagleV. And before we move on, just one more announcement about RISC-V. Although BeagleV was announced in January and it's already available, it's here actually. Yeah, it's a beta version, but it's kind of available. There are also some plans that other affordable RISC-V development boards capable of Linux to be released on the market. Recently I read a blog post at CNX Software which talks about an all-winner RISC-V development board which will be available for just $100 US. So RISC-V is something that creates a huge new opportunities. It's not a lot of people ask me, is this a Raspberry Pi killer? Not yet. Definitely a different price range. It's still doesn't have perfect software support, but software support is getting better and better with every day. I'm telling you this as a developer having access to the beta unit. So keep an eye on RISC-V, keep an eye on BeagleV and other RISC-V development boards. Some of them are capable of Linux, running Linux, other are microcontrollers. All of them have huge potential. Moving on with interesting hardware, open source hardware projects. The BeagleV board is not only powered by RISC-V, but it is also entirely open source hardware project in terms of schematics of the PCB. And another project that has shared all schematics for the printed circuit board is Solo 2. This is a USB NFC security key platform. It has been certified by the Open Source Hardware Association this month in May. On many occasions in previous episodes of the open source video blogs, I've explained about the Open Source Hardware Association and the certification that they're doing. So here we have an ID. It's a unique identifier of the hardware, which is for the specific version. At the beginning, the prefix is for the country. So this is a project coming from the United States. Actually, it has been designed in the United States and Switzerland, but it will be manufactured in Italy. However, it has been certified by the Open Source Hardware Association with a UID from the United States, and this means that there are 1,100 certified projects from the United States. It's amazing. And actually, I'm proud to say that we from Bulgaria, because I'm from Bulgaria, and I'm proud to say that in Bulgaria, we have an enormous number of certified open source hardware projects as well. Bulgaria is a very small country. The whole population of Bulgaria is less than 7 million, about 6 million and something. So we're a very small country in terms of population, and it's great to see so many projects certified by the Open Source Hardware Association from Bulgaria as well. Back on the main topic, Solo 2 is a USB NFC security key platform. It is with NXP LCP 55 microcontroller, and the interesting thing is that it's with a RISC firmware. If you would like to learn more about this project, follow the link. And by the way, I'll share, of course, this link in the description of the video right after the end of this episode of the open source video blog. Now, moving on to something that I'm personally attached to. This is ANAVI Macro Pad 2, and as the name suggests, this is something that I have created recently. As I told you, I'm an open source enthusiast, and I like making open source hardware. This is ANAVI Macro Pad 8, and this is its little brother, ANAVI Macro Pad 2, which has only 2 keys. I created this board because sometimes, actually quite often, I work remotely, I work from home. Very often I have to enter various conference calls, and I need a button to control the microphone or the video. And having a keyboard with 2 dedicated buttons makes things easier for me. Of course, if I'm using something more complicated like OBS, which I'm using for this stream, I'm using a bigger keyboard with more dedicated buttons, but a small keyboard is also convenient and useful. ANAVI Macro Pad 2, it's called 2% because it has only two keys. It's with Gateron red mechanical switches. Actually, I can show you in lifetime how I can remove them. Here are they. The interesting part is that below the Gateron red mechanical keys there are LEDs. If I turn on this keyboard by plugging the USB cable, they will automatically turn on, and with a combo key by pressing 2 of these keys, I'll be able to control the lighting. The interesting part it's that I think it's an interesting part is that I'm using microchip 80Tiny85. This is a microcontroller very well known because most of the soldering kits that you can find nowadays are using it. Actually, I've used an Olimex FOSDEM 85 soldering kit with a Penguin, one of my favorite soldering kits, by the way, by a local company from Plovdiv, Bulgaria, Olimex. They're making it, it's amazing. Give this soldering kit a try if you like soldering. So I was using this Penguin to prototype the keyboard. 80Tiny85 is now 16 years old. It was it appeared on the market branded as Atmel back then. I'm using the micronucleus bootloader and VUSB for software emulation of the USB protocol. So actually, I'm really proud of this project, although it's super simple, because I'm kind of squeezing the maximum out of 80Tiny85 for something that's not just a soldering kit, but something that's useful. This keyboard is powered by the popular open source firmware QMK, which actually is an amazing project. I've started contributing to this project, and wow, it's totally amazing. Give it a star in GitHub if you like mechanical keyboards. It works on GNU Linux distributions. Of course, I'm using it on GNU Linux distribution on Mac OS and Microsoft Windows. For Mac OS users and Windows users, even have a desktop application for easy configuration of the custom keys. So QMK, which stands for Quantum Mechanical Keyboard, provides all the necessary tools for a mechanical keyboard to be flexible and customizable as an entirely open source hardware project certified by the Open Source Hardware Association. My ANAVI Macro Pad 2 also is relying on QMK firmware. If you like this project and if you would like to support it, go to CrowdSupply. CrowdSupply is a popular platform for kickstarting. It's a Kickstarter alternative. CrowdSupply is a popular platform for crowdfunding open source hardware projects, and I'm really grateful to CrowdSupply team. They're helping me with awesome ideas and some marketing in order to bring this small project to life. So if you like it, give it have a look at it. And finally, we are near the end of the open source video blog, and I would like to talk about upcoming open source events. As we know, we are going through a tough period, which is valid for the whole world. A lot of events are virtual. My friends from Hong Kong are organizing the annual Hong Kong Open Source Conference, which this year is going to be virtual. I've attended as a speaker this conference back in 2015, 6 years ago, and after that, next year, I was again presenting there in 2016. Now, Hong Kong Open Source Conference is going to be a virtual event. It's going to be one day on 17th of July. The good thing about being an event being virtual is that after all, anyone can attend it. No need to spend a huge amount of money traveling throughout the world. Of course, staying all the time at home isn't as fun as meeting people and visiting events, but this is what it is, and hopefully over time things will get better. And speaking about things getting better, there is a huge announcement about the Embedded Linux Conference. The Embedded Linux Conference is scheduled to happen on between 28th of September and 1st of October. Embedded Linux Conference is an event organized by the Linux Foundation. Linux Foundation maintains a calendar with a lot of events. Nowadays, they have both face-to-face events and virtual events. The interesting thing about the Embedded Linux Conference is that they have one event in the past. They had one event in North America and one event in Europe. This year, the event in North America was initially cancelled because it was supposed to happen in August, and the event in Europe was supposed to happen in end of September, beginning of October. The event in Europe was scheduled to happen in Dublin, Ireland. However, first, the Linux Foundation decided that they'll cancel the event in North America and focus on the event in Dublin, because obviously the two events were very close dates. After that, and actually, if you watch the previous episode of the open source video blog, you see that I'm discussing the Embedded Linux Conference as a thing that is going to happen in Dublin. After that, the Linux Foundation decided to actually move the Embedded Linux Conference from Europe to North America, and the new dates, the dates are the same, but the new place is Seattle in Washington. However, this if you don't want to travel, this event is gonna be both face-to-face and virtual event. So even if you're not able to travel, you'll still be able to be part of this event. It's a huge change. The excellent news is that actually slowly we are getting back to normal, to life as we know it, with conferences, with face-to-face events where we can meet other open source developers, enthusiasts, and this is the first big event I'm familiar with that is gonna be in person. Yeah, so great news. Another event that is scheduled, and it was scheduled to happen in Dublin, and still in the website I think they still mention Dublin, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen, is the Linux Plumbers Conference. The initial plan was that it's gonna be co-located with Embedded Linux Conference. Now with the new change of plans for Embedded Linux Conference, I'm not sure what's gonna happen with the Linux Plumbers Conference, but it's something that we will be keeping an eye. There's plenty of time until end of September. We're gonna hopefully I'll be able to do a few more open source video blogs, and we'll follow up. So these are all the news that I have for you today, last day of March. Last day of May, last chance for me to do the monthly episode. And I hope you've kind of enjoyed it. You can have a look at. First of all, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the like button or the notification bell. I'm doing this type of random videos, which are the quality of my videos isn't something impressive. I'm just having fun. I kind of recommend you the video about BeagleV, which for a long time I was calling BeagleV. It's BeagleV. And please let me know if you have any ideas what you would like to see happening more in the open source video blog, what kind of topics you would like to cover. Let me know if you have any open source projects that are needing attention now. I'll be happy to spread the word about them. So thank you very much again for joining and for staying with me for 30 minutes. It's midnight here, so it's time to get to bed. It was a pleasure to do this. It was a lot of fun. Sorry if I made a lot of mistakes. That's typical for me. I'm a person who's always making epic fails. I think this is part of the interesting things that happen during my live streams, that there's always some kind of a failure. So thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. I'm fine with this. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for new videos. See you soon again.